June 24, 2017, Douglas Lambert wanted to give Playboy a run for its money. It was 1971, and Hugh Hefner's magazine had created a new mainstream market for soft-core porn. Lambert, a nightclub owner in Garden Grove, California, decided to get in on the action. Lambert's wife Jenny saw a bigger opportunity, a magazine with nude male centerfolds. Lambert wasn't sold. What woman wanted to ogle photos of nude men, much less buy a magazine full of them? But he slowly realized Jenny might be onto something. The sexual revolution was well underway, and Lambert sensed the woman of the 70s was eager to become part of it, as he'd eventually write in promo copy for his new magazine. So in the summer of 1971, Lambert, along with William Miles Jr., an experienced ad man who served as Playgirl's executive vice president, invested $20,000 in the project and opened a swanky, 23rd-floor office in Los Angeles' Century City. 2 years later, in June 1973, Playgirl's first issue hit the newsstand, with a mission similar to its long-standing counterpart, to feature nude centerfolds alongside hard-hitting features by and for women. On the first cover, a nude man, credited as Ill Done, sat cross-legged, his modest preserved by shadows, as an amorous woman, credited as Lorelei, nuzzled him from behind. One of its cover lines, "Compulsions of the Promiscuous Woman." It sold out, moving 600,000 copies in 4 days. At its peak during the late 70s, each issue sold around 1.5 million copies. Playgirl's debut issue included lifestyle features and no full frontal nudity. Now, women could compare men's bodies just as men compared women's. "You take on the power of what was the male gaze," says Nancy Martin, Playgirl's editor-in-chief for part of the 80s. "It's now the female gaze. That's debatable. The magazine has always been owned and published by men. We were a magazine nobody ever bought but everybody read," says Ira Ritter, an ad exec for, and later the owner of Playgirl. That readership included women and men. It's no shocker that a magazine full of naked dudes attracted the secret patronage of gay men, especially in an era when it was risky to be out. For women and gay men both, Playgirl's true legacy is the way it normalized sexually objectifying men. Before People's Panting, annual, Sexiest Man Alive issue, before the Adonis-heavy photography of Bruce Weber, before Mark Wahlberg posed in Calvin Klein underwear, and before the boom in mainstream porn for women, Playgirl paved the way in showing off men's bodies for the erotic delight of its readers. That's a bold initiative for a product you could buy while on a diaper run or pumping gas. While Lambert's first test issue of Playgirl was under development, Cosmopolitan's iconoclastic editor-in-chief Helen Gurley Brown made waves by publishing the first nude male centerfold, a teasing image of movie star Burt Reynolds on a bearskin rug. That image provided an opening for male nudity to go mainstream. Some feminists like Gloria Steinem reviled Playboy. Steinem famously went undercover as a Playboy bunny in 1963 for a show magazine piece, but Playgirl was championed as progress for women, with articles on abortion and breast cancer. "You'd have to be pretty simple-minded to think that we were in a society where men looking at pictures of naked women was the same thing as women looking at pictures of naked men," says former articles editor Zena Clapper. The magazine in its 70s heyday. Ira Ritter, Assistant VP of Advertising, Executive VP, and President. Back then, they were sex objects, presumed to be only interested in housekeeping or serving their man. "We were a very threatening magazine for men. If you came home and found your wife reading Playgirl, it would be, 'You don't love me anymore.' The newsstands were controlled by men. Dear Falwell wanted this magazine off the newsstands. We were put in the back rack in 7-Eleven. Playgirl's women-centric content. Zena Clapper, articles editor, 1981-82. "I was told our typical readers were college girls in the Midwest who had never seen a naked man." Celeste Fremen, fashion and beauty editor, 1970s-80s. "The idea of Playgirl, that women could have their own Playboy magazine, was, in the beginning, this grand act of rebellion. The notion was to have nude men, we can do this, too, and also have serious articles. The nudity seemed okay, but I thought it was a little embarrassing." Zena Clapper, some of the people on the editorial staff had come out of the porn industry because Larry Flynt had moved Hustler from Ohio to LA. They cared about feminism in a different way than people at Mother Jones did. They were excited to be working for a woman and working with pro-women content in the magazine. Diane Hansen, editor of Toshin Publishing's Sexy Book series, "The first people I remember actually buying and enjoying it were the cleaning ladies at the osteopathic hospital where I worked in Allentown, Pennsylvania. These were middle-aged, working-class women who would get a copy of it every month and sit there on their break cackling and looking at it. Ira Ritter, I was at Hanes, the latest nylon company, and the chairman of the board said, I don't want to reach the women who are reading your magazine. That's not my market. Judith Dan Madison, fashion editor, 1976. The Estee Lauders were not interested in advertising in a magazine with naked men. Stodgy advertisers perceived Playgirl as unwholesome and a threat to the status quo. They were right on both counts. Neil Feynman, Special Editions editor, 1979–83. My version of Playgirl was that after 6, drugs were okay. So you'd get on the office intercom.